Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is a Patreon supported tutorial about how to create some kind of shop system. So in this case we are going to create a weapon shop where we are able to purchase some knives or a katana for example. We're gonna have some value, some currency. We're gonna decrease the amount of when we are actually buying something. We also go in and unlock that particular weapon. So currently they are just kind of grayed out or just blacked out, so you don't actually know how this is going to look. You will have a save and load option later on, not with that buttons, but we're gonna implement saving and loading the will purchase actually. So if you have a purchase already a kitchen knife, there will be also this will be saved, and then later on when we are loading the game back to its original or to the save state actually, then we can see, okay, we already bought this one. So what we will do is we will create that effect, and here we're gonna have a scroll bar on the right side. Gonna show this one later on also. So we will fit everything in there. So when we are using I'm currently using my mouse wheel, so you can see that just a bit. It would be automatically be scrollable and would fit automatically into the screen. So when I'm going to buy the kitchen knife, you will see, okay, that's going to unlock one of the graphics behind that, or actually switching that graphic. We can also do that with the army knife in here, so it's automatically telling us, okay, it's a sold out one, we are not able to buy this one anymore. Also we can set, as you can see, the weapon or the buy buttons now have changed to be use and using. So this is what we are currently using, and this is what we are able to use. So if you have already a weapon change system in your game, but you don't have a shop or whatever, then you are able to switch that the IDs of the weapons by just using that button. So I'm going to go over this one later on, so you are able to implement that as well. I will decide later on if I will go over and do that in my current setup in here. So also what you can see, how you have you might want to go over and want to buy a katana, but it's cost intense, but we don't have any money left. So when we're pressing now on the buy button, you will get a small error message in the center of the screen or wherever you like, and it says you don't have enough money, so you're not able to buy this weapon or that stuff. So now you know what we are going to create. So I'm gonna go open a new scene, and we will see in just a second and start to create the user interface. So I have a new scene in here, so I'm gonna go over and create a new UI canvas. So in this canvas we are going to produce, or actually set up all the shop internal things, like all the graphics, the buttons and all the other things, also the item holder and the grid of course, and all the other things. The first thing we're gonna start with is when we are creating the canvas, we want to make sure that there is an event system in this scene. If it's not, make sure you add one, but make sure that you don't have any duplicated. Also go to the canvas scaler, so we change from constant pixel size to scale with screen size, so no matter what we have later on will be automatically scaled to whatever the screen resolution is, and will be stay at position where we want to place that stuff. In the canvas we're gonna create a new UI panel, and in this panel actually we just put a background image. You can use the one which you get from Unity itself, or you just load in your own GUI. In my case I can use this one. Make sure that my alpha is to 100%. So this UI actually is just from a texture atlas I just created beforehand. As you can see, it automatically stretches around that. The green one, or the green center part in here, or this one, means this is going to be stretched, but the border itself is not going to be stretched. Same for the other parts we are going to use later on. This is for the buttons, this is for the title, and this is for the items we're going to surround your stuff with. So this is going to be stretched, and the other one is just keep as it is in its original state. So that's what all that stuff is about. So you can later on just go in and drag around those yeah, thingies and so on and so forth. So if you go and create your UI, just make sure that everything will fit into your needs, of course. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to rename this one. This is going to be our shop panel, so we know, okay, this is our shop or our weapon shop or whatever shop panel you are after, and you can actually decide how you want to lay it out, how you want to create it, how you want to make it look good or not. Also, so under the shop panel, so make sure that you select this one. I want to create another one, which is going to be just a UI image, so which basically just contains my title. So I know, okay, I'm gonna place it somewhere here, maybe a bit down, I don't know. And I want to add my enter my sprite, so I can put some text onto it, and I have a small design thingy. So I'll select the image for the title. You can also say, or rename this one to title image or background title, whatever you call it, call it whatever you want. And we want to have some text in here. So this one, I want this one to be centered in both directions, and I also want to go over and use best fit and make sure that it's super black, so not that gray color which it is in original. Also, I want to make sure that I go over and center this one out pretty much in here. You can always use your own fonts and stuff. So what I want to call it is just the weapon shop. There we go. So it's going to automatically fit between 10 and 40 pixels. If you need it bigger or smaller, you can just go in and change the minimum and the maximum size for that particular item or that text size. So again, you can always go in and fiddle around where you want that name to be. You want to have that maybe very much in the top. I don't know. Maybe gonna test this one out. It doesn't really matter where it is and where you want this to have. So in the top left, I could, for example, go in and enter all the currency text fields. So I know, okay, I have this amount of money, and on the other hand, I can always put in anything else I want, maybe a close button, and as you have seen in the preview, the save and the load button itself. So, but that's not so important for the moment. So what we want to do is we want to create some placeholder. Several placeholders for our actual item containers. So at first I'm gonna go over and create an image. This image is going to be just representing the size of where we want, or where I want to have my items in. So the items I just showed you are the complete containers with the different item sets inside. We are going to create a prefab in just a second as well. So make sure you fit this one to your needs depending on how you want them to look. Again, this is basically just a container for this one. I'm gonna explain you why, how, and when, whatever you need to know. Oh, I believe we want to go over and use a stretch on this one. So go to the rect transform in the top left to the anchor presets and hold down Alt and Shift and make sure that you select the uniform stretch in the bottom right hand corner. So when you have done that, you're gonna go into the image itself and resize it again to your needs, so it will fit to every point or to everywhere. This is basically usually, or whatever, this is later on going to be our masking. So we don't have any overlays or underlays under that particular shop field, and not going over or under borders. Okay, so this is going to be our, I call this one just spacer. So you want to rename this to whatever you like. So this is just our container object which holds our grid object, and the grid object will later on just hold our item containers. So I'm gonna explain why, what, and how again in just a second. So when we are in that spacer, we want to create another UI image. So this image is going to be our grid. So rename this one to grid. This will be automatically resized to whatever we set it to be. So what we first do is we go to the anchor presets once again. We hold down Alt and Shift once again and choose the middle one in here. So you see it will automatically, when we could also go in and tint that for a second, so you can see it automatically fits the outer rim or the maximum size of the spacer object, which is underlying that one. So what we also want to do, we want to add some components to the grid so it will react to whatever we fill inside the grid. So the first component we're going to enter is the content size fitter component. So type in here content size fitter or just con. And we want to make sure that we are vertical fitting the preferred size of that content which is in. What will happen is it will just get super small, super thin. It will just be 0 pixels in the height, but it will still keep the width of the grid itself. It will change later on, so don't worry, it will be back in just a second as well. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to select, we don't want to stay in grid, we want to make sure that we are outside of grid. So go to shop panel, for example, and we're gonna create a new image in here. So go to UI image and we call this one just item holder. So this is the holder object for our items later on. You can rename that to whatever you like and please. So the first one, once again, I want to go in and select a rect transform tool for the presets again. Again, hold down Shift and Alt and just oh, that's maybe not cool. We might want to go in and do that inside spacer. So we're gonna get the infos from the spacer. So drag this one inside spacer, but not children of grid. Just make it inside spacer, so we will get the complete size, or actually the width of the spacer object. The height currently is 100 for me, so you might want to fiddle around with the height later on. So when we have that item holder done, we can just pass over our item or our UI element for this one. As you can see, it will automatically fit to wherever or however I have set this one. I can also go in and reduce or increase the size to my needs. As you can see, it will be broken at that position, so maybe not do that too big, but maybe this one. So everything again depends on your item you have created, on your background you have just created. So yours will look different and so on and so forth. Okay, this is going to be our item holder, which holds later on the graphics, the buttons, and all the other things. So this will be just our prefab for everything later on. Before we go forward and add anything, we want to make sure that we add a layout element to that particular item holder object. So go in and say add component layout. Oh, my language of the keyboard has been changed. Can I give me a second and I'll change this one back. So what we want to set at this particular point is we want to make sure that we are taking the preferred height, which is the current height. We want to make sure that this is always the preferred height, but the width is going to be automatically stretched by the width, so we don't need to do anything in there. But we want to make sure that we are selecting flexible width. So this is going to be the flexible one, and we will set this one to 1. 1 means 100% to be flexible. Okay, so now we're gonna go over and drag item holder into grid. So this, I hope it is correct. No, it doesn't seem so. Oh, maybe, no, maybe it's not. Gonna give me a second, gonna see what we need to, or what we maybe have missed. Oh yeah, we have missed one more thing, of course, and this is going to be a vertical layout group. So we want our item holder objects be vertically layouted inside of grid. So we just type in vertical and get the layout group for this. We don't need to change anything for now. So what we do now we enter, or actually drag an item holder into grid. So what you can see, it automatically be the size of the item holder. I don't know why it's red. Again, why it's not showing our item holder. That's strange. So I'm gonna look into that issue and we'll be back in a second. Okay, so what's happening here is actually it's reciting automatically to a width of 0. So we're gonna enter some values in here, maybe 100, and make sure that we are able to drag this one back to where it has to be. So it will automatically get the width of the grid item itself. So with that done, we can actually go in and duplicate item holder, and as you can see in the very much in the background, gonna color this one so you can see the grid or the grid item is automatically fitting the content size of how many items in here. So it will automatically size or resize itself to the content which is in the content size filter. So what we also want to do is we want to make sure that grid is actually snapping to the top left corner of the space object. So what we do is we select our prefab or our preset from the anchor presets once again, hold down, I believe it's Alt, and just click the top left preset. So what you see is it automatically snaps to the left upper corner, or yeah, the left upper corner. And there is the anchor set to be at that point. So when we are adding now some more by just duplicating item holder, you can should be able. Oh, that is because of the grid itself. So we're gonna need to hold down Alt and Shift and do top left. Now it should be automatically. Yeah, there we go. So and make sure that you hold down Shift and Alt in the anchor preset. So the pivot also will snap in the top left corner, as you can see right now. Okay, so the pivot and the anchor of the grid needs to be in the top left. The rest is going to be automatically set, so we don't need to stretch this one anymore. And usually the item holder is going to be driven. As you can see, some values are driven by the vertical layout group, so this is going to take care that is automatically filled and all the other things so far. So when we are pressing play right now, we should be able. Yeah, there we go. It's automatically fitting the size. You can also see in the background there is a red surrounding. And now what we can do is we can actually create some scroll bars. So for this particular this particular item in here, or that scroll down stuff. So when I go in here, I want to make sure that I can scroll this with a scroll bar up and down. So for that we just go in and, or we don't want to have that directly in Spacer, but we want to have that in the shop panel. So we're gonna create a new UI scroll view. No, it's not scroll view, it's scroll bar. Redo UI scroll bar. There we go. And what you see, it is set from left to right. We want to make sure that we're setting this one from top to bottom when we're selecting this one. Now we can place it to wherever we want to. So we're gonna take the size of the height of our grid size or the spacer image. Maybe we want to increase the size by a bit more in here, so even people on mobile are actually able to use this one. Maybe to that position, as you can see, looks pretty okayish. In the background of that particular sliding area, we can we will have a handle and we have the scroll bar itself. The scroll bar itself has also a color or actually a source image. So I'm going to use the background of my other one, and here my other my panel. So it's looking pretty good on this particular part itself as well. And for my handle, I just select the UI sprite and make sure that I add my button on it. Also, I am able to drag this one around so it's fitting the handle a bit more. And I can also go in and put the size to be fitting on that particular point. So now for the scroll bar, we need to say, hey, what are we actually scrolling? So what we do is we can do that in Spacer or in shop panel itself. I'm gonna use it in Spacer. So our Spacer just holds a script component which is controlling or is going to be controlled by the scroll bar. So what we say is we want to have scroll rect as a new component in here. We can say if it is elastic or not, if it's horizontal and vertical. But the most important one at first is what is the content we want to scroll. So select the small button in here, the small circle, and select our where is it? Our grid. So what we want to scroll is the grid itself over its whole size. So when we now go and press play, and I try to use my mouse, you can see there's some wobbling. That means it's going to start to react to whatever we are doing, but the scroll bar is not doing anything at the moment because we haven't set any vertical scroll bar at the moment. So what we do is select this one here, let's go to scroll bar, and now you can see the handle is automatically fitting the full size of the scroll bar itself. So because we just have one item, we are not able to drag much around. But when we are going back to spacer grid item holder and duplicate some amount, you can see it fills automatically the bar. And when we're pressing play, we are able to move around that scroll bar to move the items up and down. You will see some issues like we have some overlaps in here. We'll go and do that or fix that later on. Also, my scroll bar is placed in the wrong direction. So I want to make sure that when I go onto scroll bar, it is not top to bottom, but bottom to top. So I'm gonna select that direction option. So when I take this one and take it down, then automatically our items will go up and down. Pretty cool so far. What I also have is when I drag around the area with my mouse, and here you can see I have a vertical dragging and a horizontal dragging, but that's not what we want. We only want the vertical dragging, so we're gonna disable that option in the scroll bar itself by it's the scroll rect script. So we don't want to have any horizontal movement, so we just disable this one. And we can say the movement type is not elastic, so it's not going to snap around. We can just say it's going to be clamped if you like it. Later on for mobile, you maybe want to keep it as it is elastic. We can also say it's clamped, so we don't have any over pulling when we're just pressing play right now. We are not able to drag it more down than it is just able to. So it's just fixed and clamped. So you decide what you want. You have still the scroll bar, and you can drag around the pieces in here because it's reacting to the grid. We are moving with a mouse button. Also, when you want to use the scroll wheel for the mouse, it's also possible, but as you can see, I need to have a lot of scrolling until I get to a point. So we're gonna increase the scroll sensitivity maybe to 30 or 60, whatever you please and like. Let's see how. Yeah, 30 is pretty much cool. So you can scroll down with your mouse and you can see all the item as well. Okay, so you have everything set up for that, so we can get rid of all the other item holder itself. The only thing we want to clamp away later on is, let me show you this one as well, is we want to mask that particular items inside the spacer. So the spacer should be our mask. What we can do with that is we just add another component in here where the scroll rect is on our spacer and call this one mask. Mask will just take the current image component, which is this one, and will mask it. Everything is everything is inside that mask will automatically cut it away. As you can see right now, it's cut it away. It's still, as you can see, grid still has that size, but it's not going to be shown. So when we are rolling around, we will not have any overflow in that over that shop title. As you can see, it will be automatically cut it away wherever spacer has ended. And same for the bottom. We don't overlap the items within that our border itself. So pretty cool. This is also out of the way, so we have now a fully set up scrollable, down scrollable weapons shop itself. So but we don't have anything at the moment in here. So what we want to have is in our item holder we want to have some informations, like what's the name of that particular item we are after, what's the price, what are the stats. We are not going over the stats, you can implement that on your own, and what's the image this item is going to be, or actually what it's going to look. So what we do is we now create some preset or a prefab in this case for our item holder, and everything which is gonna be created from that prefab will automatically fill in all the data and all the infos inside. So let's start with the buy button at the very right. So select your item holder, right click UI and create a new button. So this button it doesn't matter what size it is, we're gonna resize it anyways. So you decide how big and how small you want, how you want this to look, how you want that to be fitting into your setup actually, and also how you want this to be or how you want this to look. I'm gonna change that one to my graphic I just imported, so it has also that metallic look. What I also want to do is the text component in here needs, of course, a best fit in its size, and also somewhere maybe super black in here. If you are not happy with the size of the text elements and you want to have some space to the left and to the right, like maybe this one, then you can feel free and do so. I'm gonna buy already in here. There's again, somehow my keyboard has been changed. There we go. So you can do it like that. So we have a buy button and a button text. You can also rename the button, so later on when we are filling in data into the button, we can actually look around for that particular name in the button or whatever. We will go over this coding later on. Okay, so on the left I want to have the name and maybe the price. We can also set the price somewhere here. We have a lot of places, as you have seen in my previous or in the beginning. You can place this stuff wherever you like and want. And I just go over and create all the basics we are actually needed. Also, if you're wondering what the hell is about the grid and the red color in the background, I don't want to have that. Just go in and decrease the alpha to maybe 1 or 2 or 0. So, but make sure you don't do that with spacer. Spacer needs at least 1 in alpha. So gonna show you why. When we are using 0, as you can see, it's not showing anything because of the mask component. So at least 1 alpha needs to be shown by space or seen. Even if you don't see it, 1 alpha needs to be there, so all of that content will not be cut off by the mask script. So at least 1 alpha in the color of the image component, because it's using this and nothing means nothing, so it cannot show anything. So okay, with that out of the way, we're gonna go and create our text element for the name. So we're gonna put this wherever we need it or want it. Of course, we go in and choose best fit, taking a black dark color or whatever you please and like. Gonna resize it to wherever I want this to be. Maybe at this position, it's going to be left. And this is just going to be our item name. And in here, just type a name. So we know, okay, there's a name going to be. Also, I can now duplicate that by Control D, drag this one over and place it at the end of the name. And this can be our item price. We can go in and change the font or actually the color or whatever you again please and like. I'm gonna take this one, name it price. We're gonna fill in the data later on, so this is just for placeholding. So we have the item name. I'm gonna rename them to item name text just in case, and the item price text. So they will be filled automatically later on by script. Okay, so and now what we also need is a sprite actually. So or a sprite or image component directly on that or in that particular piece in here. So gonna select item holder once again, create UI image, and now we're gonna place at first just as a placeholder for this one. Gonna place this somewhere where we like it to be and how big we want this to be. Again, this is something you need to fiddle around with or handle around on your own. If you want to have it more here or wherever, then just go in and drag it there. You can make it long and short and big and whatever. It depends on what kind of weapons you have. Maybe you want to take the half size of the complete system. So you have, as I have, that long container, for example, that could or might not fit. So as you can see, it will automatically look like that. You can always go in and see what the best would be for your piece in here. And also when we have selected any sprite, it doesn't matter, make sure you stay as you select preserve aspect ratio. That's important. So again, it doesn't matter what kind of image you're gonna take. Just make sure there is any in. That is important for the preserving aspect ratio, otherwise you might have problems later on with that. Okay, so when you're happy with the result and how this could look in any way, then we're actually able to put in some more content. Maybe we can take the use it place in here for the name or for the price, as I said before. It doesn't really matter. It's your choice where you're going to place all your items. Okay, so if you have all your items or your images like this one or sprites in one texture atlas, make sure you export them and make sure that they are all on their own. We will go over that later on just to make sure your user interface atlas is pretty much okay if everything is in one atlas, but for the weapons itself we need to make sure that we have all sprites separated, like the black one and the colorish one and so on and so forth. So make sure that you export them from your whatever Photoshop or GIMP or whatever you have used, or even Illustrator, and make sure that everything is exported on its own. So you have one black one, for example, and one colorish one, so we can unlock them and we can use or make use of the system Unity provides with the sprites. So we have one more thing left, and this is going to be directly in the shop panel itself, and this is going to be our currency or currency text for our current currency, of course. So I'm gonna call this one currency text and place this one somewhere at the top left. Gonna make sure that it is again maybe that orange we had before, like this. We also want to make sure it's best fit, so it automatically fits the size of our screen wherever and however it currently is. Gonna place this maybe here. If it's too big or small, make sure you just fiddle around with the sizes. Gonna make a $sign and maybe some zeros in here. So you will see there can be a lot of money, and we can also later on format this ones to be in float formatting and so on and so forth, but that's not anything we're gonna currently care about. So if you're happy with that result, you can also add another close button, so you can open or actually just close that particular weapon shop panel when we have opened this by whatever, maybe by hitting a collider, talking to an NPC, whatever you please and like again. So in that shop panel we're gonna create a new button. And let's see how we can fit this one in here. So we're gonna take the size of the scroll bar in the left and right. So it's a width of 42.2. So I'm gonna copy this and paste this one in the height. So it's going to be pretty much okay. Also make sure that we delete the text, or actually in the text component we can use that. We just type in an X, a big or small one. Can also set it to be best fit if we want to. And our button itself needs, of course, a sprite image, our metallic look once again. And there we go. You can also go into the text and make it red. I don't know. Maybe that's cool. You decide again what you want and need, please like. Okay, so everything is set up. So this is going to be our weapon shop. We have our item holder, which has a buy button, item name tags, item price tags, and any image. So gonna rename this one as well. It's going to be item image, just to make sure that we are able to find all that we'll use later on in that particular part. We will have some values on that, so or actually a script on every item holder anyways, because you need the connections to the buy buttons and all the text elements and so on and so forth, so we can read and write into them as we please and like. Again, when we go over and duplicate them, it will automatically fit into the content size fitter, and when we are pressing play, we are able to scroll the list in here, select any of those buttons. They automatically react to whatever we do. We can scroll with the mouse holding down left and right. We can leave it alone, so it will automatically scroll on its own. We can drag around this one and we take our mouse wheel and it's going to look the same. Okay, so now we can delete all the other item holders, and what we do is we take this item holder and go to a prefabs folder. If you don't have one, make sure you create one. And what you see already, I have an item holder in here. I'm gonna get rid of it, or actually I rename this one to item holder 2. You don't need to rename that, it's just because I have a second one, so don't worry about that. So this is my item holder object. So what I want to test is when I delete the item holder from the grid still is just 1 pixel height. And when I drag this one inside my grid, I want to make sure that it is still looking as however we have created this one. Okay, and it's still looking like that, so it's automatically fitting its size, however it has to be, like the width and the height driven by the system of the grid itself. It still should work with all the dragging around. And the last one, let's see if we need to test something different. No, I believe it's okay. So when we have to fiddle around inside of all that stuff again, we will go in and do so. So what you can take is, or leave for now, is just one item holder in here. What you can also later on, you can still keep this one in, but you just make sure that you disable it, so you can see it's still there, but grid will automatically go back to its original size of 0 in height, as you can see over here. So we can always go in and change stuff in that particular prefab, do the changes, and then just disable it when we are ready with all our work. Don't forget to change or actually apply the changes to the prefab with the apply button. So if you have, I don't know, change the button size or orientation, or if you even have dragged around the image to another particular point like this one or wherever, make sure that you apply the changes by just pressing the apply button in the top right corner of the inspector itself, when you have selected one of the item holder sub items, or the item holder itself. Okay, so with all of that set up, we can actually start and create the shop itself by coding everything together and getting a management system completed. So, since I already have created some scripts already, I wanna go or will go over and delete them at first. You want to create a scripts folder if you don't have any at the moment. And in that scripts folder, you also want to have a shop system folder, a subfolder. So everything about the shop system is going to land or be in that particular folder. So depending on how you, or if you already have a currency system, then you are able to use your own. But what I'm gonna do is I better create a new one. So I'm gonna create an empty game object, which is going to be my game manager object. This game manager actually just takes care of all the money management system called game manager, and we will go over and create a script called game manager as well. So I'm going to code in C# and also make sure you have at least Unity 5. So I'm currently using Unity 5.5. So there are some coding changes to all the versions, but I go over them when we are actually going over and do that stuff. So again, go and create a game manager script if you haven't already, or if you don't have any currency system. So again, this is only for the currency we actually gonna show in here. So I dragged this game manager C# script onto my game manager object. We can zero this one out if we want to, but we don't need to, as long as it just sits somewhere in the scene. So what we go over is we go open this one up and start to code in all the currency system stuff we need for this one. So I'm gonna go and zoom in a bit so you can see this one better. As you can see, with Unity 5.5, automatically system.collections.generic is automatically added. We don't need that in Game Manager, but later on when we're using lists in our weapon shop itself or the whole system, we don't need to add all of that stuff by hand. The only thing we will go and add is using Unity engine.ui, so we are able to access text components, image components, all the other things we need and like. The next one is we could do this one in private. I believe we're gonna do that, so it's basically almost protected. And we can also show this one in the inspector by serializing that particular value. I believe we gonna do that. So we say system.serializable. No, it's not correct. What is that name? Serialized field, I believe it was. Serialize field. There we go, and it's going to be of type private, and this is going to be it's not type, it's just private. It can be a float, it can be double, it can be an integer, whatever you need for your system. I'm going to use float so we can use decimals in the back. So we have maybe a price of $4.10 or whatever, so we can use floats for this one, and we just need to manipulate everything later on. We can also use double, it doesn't matter actually. Okay, so we have a private float, and this is going to be our money. You can name this whatever you like. When we are saving that script and going back to Unity, usually you don't see private fields in here. But I believe when it is becoming a serialized field, no, it's wrong. Give me a second. Okay, so now it's working. I don't know what happened. So now, usually users should see that private value now in the inspector. So we are able to actually access this one. We can show this one, but we are not able to manipulate this one from outside. So we have the possibility to use the data and see if everything is working or not. So it's still going to be a private variable, so it's not accessible from outside. But to make it accessible, we have a lot of options once again. Since it's serializable again, we are able to serialize this one later on, even if it is private. So what we do is we create some small functions in here, and we also want to make sure that this particular game object is going to be persistent game object, or some kind, some kind of, persistent or static. So that means that we are able to access this particular script from any point in the scene. So what we say is it's going to be a public static. Whoops, a small typo. So what we do is we make the game manager itself. We're gonna make this. Oh, I cannot copy this one. That's strange. Okay, we'll make a game manager static game manager, and we're gonna give it an instance name, so we can say just in small letters game manager. So the first letter might be small, or whatever, and the big M in here. So, but to make it fully static, we're gonna have two options in here. We're gonna say it's not DOS destroyable on load. So we would need to create some kind of singleton pattern, or we just say at the game start, we just say game manager is going to be equal to this. So we say this is the instance. This particular game object in here of this or with their class is going to be this particular one. So there can only be one. That's a singleton pattern or singleton design pattern. But if you don't need that game manager object in any other scenes except the one where it is in, you only need to say this one. Okay, so the last one, or the two next steps are we're gonna create two void or public voids. We can also use ints or whatever, but I'm gonna make it as simple as possible. So those options are going to be for adding money when we want to add money to our game manager money private protect or protected whatever variable. So when we want to add to that private variable from outside, we just use a function called add money. We pass over the float variable, the data of the specific amount we want to pass over into that money, and then we can just say, okay, we want to increment money by that amount. So we just say money plus equal amount. So we have, so we have the possibility to go call add money, which is public, so we can access it from outside, and we manipulate money, even if it is private, by the amount we are sending into that particular function. Also, we can update the UI text elements. So that's the next one we want to create, is a public field of type text. And this is going to be our money text field. So this is the currency text field actually we have in the top left corner. So we can update this one whenever money comes in or when money gets out. So the next one is going to be of type void once again. And we want to reduce money, or we want to reduce money. I don't know what we can call this one. So we say reduce money. So we take away money from that float, or from our money by a particular amount. So, but this is only going to happen when we have a lot. So we need to check how many money we actually have. So we might go in and take another, so we can read money actually. And pass back something like a true or false. We can do the same as we have done it here. We're gonna copy this, and since we only want to use positive values in here, gonna decrement this by saying minus equals the amount when we are reducing money. So we can also go in and check for money. So we can take any amount in, compare it with money, and when it is true or returning whatever, then we can return it true or false. So we could do that with a bool function. We could do it with some kind of void function. I believe it doesn't really matter. Or maybe we're gonna create a bool. So it's going to be a public bool. We might go in and change this later on. So we want to request money. So request money actually, or check money, I don't know. Request money by whatever the amount is. and we can return true or false once we are requesting money. So usually we would return false or true. In this case, we're gonna return false at the very end. So it means no, you don't have enough money. But we can also use an if statement in here. What we can say is if amount is going to be greater or equal. Where is my? No, not smaller, equal. Is greater or equal money, then we can return true. So that means the requested amount of type money is going to be true or bigger than that. So we can return true with no typos. There we go. We would return true because we just request a bool and we can only return true or false. In this case, we would return true, the function would end and everything is cool. If this is not the case, it would overrun it and say we will return automatically false. So we don't have enough money because the requested amount is not smaller or not bigger or equal to money. No, it needs to be smaller or equal to money. So amount needs to be smaller or equal to money. So smaller means we sent in 30, we have 40 money, then it's smaller and it will return true. But if it's 41 when we have 40, it would be greater than that, so it wouldn't be returning true, but instead would return false. Gonna save the game manager script. I believe that's everything for now. And what we can do is, we need to create one more function. It's going to be it's going to be a private one, or actually a not public one, of type void, and we want to update UI or just UI, depending on how you want to name that, just UI. So what we update is the text field money text, depending on whatever the amount currently is. The amount, not the amount, but the money amount in this case. And we are also able to return a string, and we can take that float and manipulate the float itself by some settings. Gonna show you how. So what we do is we say money text dot text. So we call directly that particular money text part. Money text dot text is going to be equal to, and now what we want to say is, since this is of type string, we want to type in strings. So the first one is maybe a $sign, then a break in between or a space, then we can say plus, and plus means we're gonna add something, and in this case it's going to be money, which is our variable. We want to convert this one to a string since it's a float and it cannot be written in or like it is. And when we press that one, we can see we can convert the float into decimals, for example, of something specific, like with a fixed point or with a specific n like number. So I'm gonna take n1, or actually in this case gonna choose n2. And I'm gonna show you the result afterwards. Okay, so now it will convert, or actually show us, every time we update UI, we're gonna read the money, or actually we access the money text to text and write in a $sign with a break or a space between, and after that directly a formatted string of our money value we currently have. So if we have 0, there will be 0. If we have 1, it will be 1. Gonna save that. Also, after game manager is going to be equal to this, we want to update the UI. So once we start the game, we want to have the correct data, or actually when we're starting that particular weapon shop, actually, then we want to make sure that everything is okay. We don't need update in here, so we can get rid of that. And also when I decrease or increase money, so when I add money or reduce money, I want to update the user interface or that particular text element in here. And later on you can also put in anything else you need, and like if you have several other currencies like gold, silver, bronze, I don't know, whatever, or Then you can also update those GUIs or UIs while working on them. So let's test out what we have actually written. Once it's done compiling and we're gonna press the start button in here, we should see nothing because we haven't set, as you can see, we'll get a null reference. So that means the money text, of course, needs to get that particular currency text inside of that. So when we're now pressing apply, we should have a $sign, a 0, and then the format we choose before, which is the N2. So we have 2 decimals in the back, and we get every thousands, or in this case 100, we get a point or a comma. So when we would have a currency of this, which is going to be 100k, you will see we have 100, then we have a comma, then another the other thousands, a dot, and then the decimals and the back for if we have a float like this with a point and 10, and we're gonna press play once again, or in this case 0.1, you can see it automatically adds the 0.1 automatically and puts a point in here and the comma there. You can always use any other format, but this is going to be not so bad. Okay, so now we have a currency system running. We are able to manipulate the private field while it is a serializable field, so we have still access inside the inspector. And in the next one, we're gonna go in and create all that weapon stuff in here, like the item holder and the complete weapon shop itself. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.